This is a helpful video for a Greek Grammar 1 student to learn Lesson 1, especially the letters. So to start off with, I have made a story that really helped me learn from YouTube of a way to remember the Greek alphabet. So first of all, alpha, beta, gamma. Those are the first three letters of the alphabet. You guys should have those ones down easy. Alpha, beta, gamma. But an easy, simple story to help you remember the rest might help you if you start thinking of the Greek alphabet letters as a story, and I know it really helped me. So, to start off with, you'll see that we have delta and epsilon. Delta, the airline, and epsilon, the type of plane. One day there was a lady, traveling, and she rode on a Delta Epsilon airplane. She flew across the sky, and now we get to meet this lady. Her name was Zeta. Zeta was on her way home to go be with her family. So Zeta, on the flight on her Delta Epsilon plane, Zeta got really hungry. So on the flight, Zeta ate a theta. Again, that's Zeta, Eta, Theta. She was very hungry, and Zeta on the flight on her Delta Epsilon plane decided that she needed something to eat, so she ate a theta. Her sandwich was the theta. She ate a theta. So after her good theta that she ate, Zeta realized that she was almost home, and at home was her hero. His name was Iota, her husband. Iota always wore a big kappa. Iota always had on his big kappa. So, Iota and Zeta together, they owned a farm, and on their farm they had lots of little lambdas. The lambdas were one of their favorite farm animals, but the lambdas were always getting into mischief, and the lambdas had a weird way to sing. The lambdas sang a song that went moo, moo. Instead of baaing like sheep, they made weird sounds. Moo, moo. That was the song that they sang. Whenever they were hungry or tired, the lambdas sang moo, moo. So to recap our story from here, Zeta took a flight on her Delta Epsilon. Then Zeta, Eta, Theta. Her husband Iota, with his kappa on, picked her up from the airport to go home and see their lambdas, who made weird sounds like moo, moo. So, as they were watching their lambdas, they kind of got a little bit impatient and stopped watching, and the little lambdas did something a little bit bad, and Iota, he looked out and he said, Gzee! Omicron! Oh, my corn! Omicron! Gzee! Omicron! His lambdas had snuck into the corn and were trouncing around eating it. So he said, Gzee! Omicron! Well, then after this traumatic experience, after they got the lambdas back in their pens, they decided to go to their favorite ballpark and see the Cincinnati Reds play. This story took place in the past, though, so one of the most iconic baseball players still played for the Reds. His name was P. Rowe. Pete Rose, or P. Rowe, wore a hat with a sigma on it. His hat always had his special sigma on it. So, after the game was over, they were lucky enough to get a going down into the locker room. And there, they saw P. Rowe carrying his towel out as he walked out of the locker room. But, sad to say for P. Rowe, he didn't see that there was a wet floor sign, and he had to yell out, Oopsilon, as he fell to the ground. To recap again, we'll go back to the Iota and Zeta seeing their lambdas in the field. So they saw the lambdas going mu nu, and he said, Xi, Omicron. They took it after they got the lambdas back. They went to go see P Rho with his Sigma hat. He had a towel around his back when they was coming out of the locker room, and he oopsilon slipped on the wet floor. And finally, to finish up our Greek alphabet, as they were on their way out to go to get their car, they had to worry about paying the parking ticket. So they went up to the parking attendant and asked, "What's our fee?" And the parking attendant, well, he decided to be a little nice to them for today, and he said, "Keepsy. Keepsy. You can keep it. Keepsy. Cheapsy." So their fee was cheapsy. And they got to go home without any other fees. And then finally, to wrap up, the last Greek letter is omega. There's no real good story for Omega besides that he stands alone at the very end. So, again, I'll go over our story one more time, and hopefully this helps you to remember the Greek alphabet. One day, well, first of all, Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, the airline, Epsilon, the type of plane, Zeta, our lovely flyer, and then Zeta, Eta, Theta. She got hungry on her flight, so she ate a Theta. Iota, her husband, wore a big kappa, and they kept little lambdas. And the lambdas made weird sounds like moo, moo. And then one day in the field he said, Xi, Omicron, because the lambdas were playing in the corn. So after they got that all settled, they went to see their favorite baseball team and player, P. Rho, who wore a Sigma on his hat. And after the game, they saw him in the locker room. He had a towel around his back, and he slipped on the floor and screamed out, "Oopsilon!" After that big adventure, everyone had to leave, so they went out to their car, and when they had to ask what the fee was, the parking attendant said, "Keepsy, keep it, no fee." When they asked about the fee, he said, "Fee," he said, "Keepsy." And then we'll wrap up with omega. Now that's the best way for me to remember the Greek alphabet, is by looking at this story and making the letters into a story instead of a song. I don't do well with a song, but it really helped me to have a story that inspired me to remember the letters, especially not always what they